Hi, my name is Luxthos, and I've been playing the World of Warcraft War Within Closed Alpha, and this is my first impression video. So I don't want to do a review. This is not what it is. This is just first impression of the alpha. This is an early alpha. There's things missing. It's not complete. It's not. It's going to look different. It's going to feel different. But I still wanted to give you guys a quick video on how I felt, give you guys some footage, some information, and just be real and honest with you guys about the whole thing. So I don't have a script. I got some bullet points right in front of me, and I'm just gonna go over them and just talk about how everything felt. Right. So first of all, I wanna start by saying that this is probably the most excited I've been about Warcraft and World of Warcraft in general in quite some times. Dragonflight was really, really cool. You know, I would come back every couple of seasons and I would play and have a good time, right? But thematic wise, like the dragon thing was kind of cool. At first, I was really excited about it, but you know, it didn't felt Warcraft-y to me. Maybe that's gonna be weird. I don't know why. It felt too dragony. I don't even know if that's the thing, but that's how I felt, right? Like thematically, I wasn't necessarily super excited about it. But I thought the design and the art and everything was super cool. The dungeons were fun. The raid were fun for most of them that I participated in. And I've been having a good time overall with Dragonflight. I think the game was and is in a really good state. And I think it can only go up from there, especially with Metzen being back. And so I'm a little bit biased when it comes to that. I love like that era of World of Warcraft a lot, and I love the story that he's worked on and the characters that he's developed. So I think things are looking really, really nice here. And so pretty much War Within. I don't know. I got this Warcraft feeling. I got this home feeling a little bit when I started playing the alpha, and it was very bare bone, right? There's not that many creatures. There's not that many objects. And there's not that many thing going on, and it feels very like empty. There's no other player. I mean, there's very little player. You don't meet too many people, but it still felt like home in some way. So that's why I want to start off with the visual and the lore. So we arrive on the Isle of Dorne, and we were able to test the first zone, which is Khazalgar. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that right. Khazalgar, which is a dwarf earthen, massive open space little island on the top of Isle of Dorne, and it looks gorgeous. So even while feeling pretty empty, right, it felt very barren and plain because not all the objects are there and not everything is there yet, but it felt amazing. So this is one thing they got really, really well and right, in my opinion, in Dragonflight, is those massive zone that take use of dragon riding and flying in general, which is now dynamic flying or dynamic riding. No, dynamic flying, right? And yeah, it just felt really, really good. So the zone is massive and it just feels really, 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 really cool. You get a little introduction. You're under some rubble. I don't want to go into too much detail about like theory and what's going on because I don't want this to be too spoilerish, but obviously if you're watching a alpha coverage video, we're going to give some information, right? So you start off, you remove some rubble over your head, over your corpse. I would say you kind of, get out of the rubble. Let's put it this way. And there seems to be like a massive fight going on and a lot of debris from what seems to be a town, right? We're not going to say much more than that. There's Nerubian everywhere. It looks kind of badass. There's Thrall, there's Jaina. And it felt like I was almost back to almost like Wrath of the Lich King a little bit, right? The whole Nerubian army just attacking and everything, and it looked really, really cool. That was a really, really good first impression. Lending on those areas is not always like something that's gonna be something that you remember. And even without the cinematic, even without any background story of what's going on here, it felt cool, and I was already like intrigued. And it felt like home. That's something I'm going to reuse a lot because that's how I felt. It felt like I was coming back to Warcraft, which was cool for some reason. I have a hard time describing it, but that's how I felt. So the whole area and everything looked really, really nice. I like the dwarfs. I like the earthen race. I love their town. There's so many things like aesthetically that were very pleasing about the entire area. There's massive storm and a lot of really, really cool elements, some really, really cool new creatures as well. It felt really nice. The questing experience was pretty cool. Like we had like some really basic quests that we had to do, but a lot of them were new things and a lot of them were old thing about riding a mount and throwing missiles on the ground, you know, like the classic World of Warcraft quest. And I just had a really good experience. I just went through the main quest for the entire zone. And then I did some side quests, and that's all we had access to with like 2 dungeons. I was able to do 1 dungeon, a couple delves, but we're going to talk a little bit about that a little bit later on. And I'm even gonna add dungeons here in my notes to make sure I don't forget about it. And yeah, so the entire zone, like the visual and the lore, I don't want to get too much into detail, but I love what they seem to be setting up here, and it looks really, really cool. There seemed to have been a massive fight and a massive crash, and it seems like there's some trouble, right? And I liked it, and all the race that are present, the character that are present, the interaction that you have with those things, it made me feel Warcraft, and I've been craving this. So super happy about that. Lore and visual, I mean, we already know, like, they always crush it when it comes to the visual of the game and the art. So that's good. We didn't have any music because music is the last thing that they'll add into the game. And even then, just the ambience, sound and everything felt really, really good. So once they put music into this place, it's going to be amazing. And that's only the first zone, which is like the cozy little introduction island, right? So we got like massive Nerubian zone coming up in some crazy, crazy cities, apparently. So I'm super excited to see this. So this is off to a really, really good start. Dynamic riding or dynamic flying was pretty cool. So we got access to pretty much a bunch of mounts, and pretty much 95% of them were able to use the dynamic dragon riding, right? The dynamic flying. And it looked really, really good. I was able to use one of the unicorn horse mount, and that thing was spinning around like it had wings, and it felt pretty nice. It felt really, really good. The animations are pretty cool. They seem to have done a lot of cool, unique animations for each of these. We should have this feature, I think, in one of the upcoming patch for the pre-launch of the expansion, right? The pre-patch that's going to be in, but I consider it to be a War Within feature, right? So that was really cool. Super excited to see this. I'm a Warlock player, and you know I love my Legion mount on my Warlock, so I really hope we get to have that one be able to dynamic ride or dynamic flight, because you know it doesn't have wing, but it's a flying horse because the other one was able to. I'm really hoping we can, because it would look amazing and it would make me so happy. I love dragon riding, but I'm so tired of riding dragons. I just want to ride Invincible. I want to ride my Netherlord horse Warlock Legion thing. I just cannot do it with dragons anymore. I just want to get off those things. So there's some cool mounts they gave us. They look amazing, but I cannot stand riding another dragon ever again. So yeah, I'm excited for this feature. I just wanted to talk about that. Class changes. So as a Warlock and Death Knight player, I didn't get to experience class changes. Those 2 classes have not been modified yet. That doesn't mean there's no changes coming. They just haven't had a pass yet applied to the alpha/beta build, right? But from what I've heard and been able to see, there's a lot of classes that got a lot of tuning and a lot of good changes. So I was talking to somebody that was playing a Windwalker monk, and apparently their rotation is almost completely fixed. So everything that was wrong with the rotation for Windwalker apparently is completely fixed in the alpha build, which is a really, really, really good sign, right? So obviously, like, everybody started playing Red Paladin recently because they feel really, really good. They got a really, really nice class overhaul treatment, and they just started feeling amazing, and everybody started playing them. Also with the fact that they do crazy damage, and they get to wear the amazing legendary weapon. But that's kind of the goal we're going for, right? We want to have, like, fun, approachable classes with really, really good class design. And Red Pally right now is in this situation. And I really, really hope that this keeps going forward with the War Within tuning. But it seems like a lot of classes got some really, really good pass so far. Not all of them. I think Priest Pally maybe got some tuning a little bit. Monk and all that stuff. Like, a bunch of classes ended up getting some tuning. None of them that I play actively, so I wasn't able to judge, really. But as soon as we get some changes for Death Knight and Warlock, I will obviously make content about that and play with those classes as much as possible to be able to figure it out. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out. I've heard really, really good feedback from other creators and other people that mains other class, that the changes have been really, really good overall for their classes, fixing a lot of bugs and issues and problems and little quirks that some classes had. So that's actually some really good news. So again, just another really, really good note for War Within. Super happy to hear about this and be able to witness it myself. So that's going to be awesome. Now let's talk a little bit about hero talents. So hero talents, I'm excited. I'm excited. It's not perfect, but I am excited. So what's going on here is some of them actually look absolutely amazing. They're stunning. They're visually amazing without adding any button bloats, which I think is incredible that they achieved this, right? So at first I was like, okay, there's no button. How can they make it be meaningful, right? Well, by having you summon a bunch of horsemen or a bunch of demon as a demonology warlock, that's how they make it meaningful. It looks cool. It looks really, really badass. It makes you feel like you're that class, and it looks really, really good. Okay? So, for example, Unholy Death Knight has access to Rider of the Apocalypse. It looks amazing. Being able to cast Death's Advance and have it be a Death's Charger instead, and you riding around on this like ghost armor dead horse is talking about dead horse. It looks absolutely amazing. You get to fight on it, and you get to just swing your sword and throw death coil while you're riding the horse, and it looks great. And then you start summoning the 4 horsemen with Army of the Dead. You get all 4 of them. And it's crazy. It feels so good. And all of this without adding a single button to your action bar. It makes my Unholy DK feel like I'm the 5th horseman. It's absolutely amazing. It's really, really, really good. The issue is that the other choice doesn't always feel as good. So it feels a little bit like sometimes Blizzard might have had like a really, really good idea. They were like, all right, Rider of the Apocalypse. Bam, S tier, right? And then Diabolist. Boom, summon bunch of demons that do massive attack like a pit lord that will throw a laser beam, which is literally a thing. You literally have Warlock summoning a giant pit lord that just does a laser beam from his spear and just kills shit. It's really, really cool. But then the alternative doesn't really look as cool. So it looks like they were like, all right, what else do we give them? Let's give Warlock Soul Harvester. And then you look at the talent tree and it's like, okay, where's the visual? Where's the cool shit happening? Where's the fun stuff, right? So tuning-wise, it might be able to do as much damage, but it doesn't look as cool. And honestly, maybe I'm casual for saying this, but it honestly feels like even if I was to lose a little bit of damage to be able to go with the cool hero talent, I would pick it. Even if I was to lose like 2, 3, 4, 5% damage. It just, some of them look amazing. So I really, really hope that they're able to give some of them maybe a little bit more crunch, a little bit more identity and some cool stuff. But for example, like Rider of the Apocalypse and Diabolist felt really, really nice. And then the other one didn't look as cool. I'm not saying they were like bad. It's just like, it's hard to compete against the 4 horsemen and summoning pit lords, right? So it can be a little bit difficult to compete, right? So it sounds like they had some really, really good idea. And then some of them are kind of fillers. We'll see how they're able to tune this. We don't know, like, what's the goal here? Are they all supposed to be equal in terms of damage percentage? Are they also supposed to give you, like, crazy, like, damage throughput? Like, for example, one of them for Warlock was giving you Wither, which is a new version of Corruption. And that visually didn't really make that much of a change. But oh my, did it change my playstyle. Because instead of having Corruption tick for like 3,000, it was ticking on Monster for 30k. Which is crazy. Because Corruption is supposed to be one of your weakest dot, right? Outside of Siphon Life. But so when you apply it with like Seed of Corruption, it's like whatever. It's like a little bonus damage. It's cool, but it's not really there. And now with Wither, I was applying like crazy stack of Wither on Monster and doing like crazy like 30, 40, 50k ticking damage compared to my previous 3,000, 7,000. So it wasn't visually impressive, but it made Affliction feel nice and bursty, which is kind of what they need a little bit. They need some massive damage over time that just instantly rot target to be able to kind of, you know, because that's one of the problems the spec has been having. So, you know, so we're going to see how they manage to balance everything out. But so far, some of them are absolutely amazing. And then next to it, you got like All right, well, that's the other choice you have, right? So you're always going to be happy with this choice because it looks amazing, but then this one is like, whatever. Okay, it's kind of all right, right? So we'll see how they manage to fix this, if they ever do, if they're able to add some cool visuals, maybe add a little bit more, just a little spark, just a little shine to some of these, maybe. But again, it's still alpha. There's still some of them could get completely reworked. Some of them could get added a ton of visuals. Like, this is a very early first impression of a very early closed alpha build, right? So we're gonna get the open alpha, we're gonna get the beta, and then we're gonna, there's plenty of development time left until release, right? So that's one thing. But again, it felt really, really good to play with. You can change between any of them at any time. You can change just like Talent Tree. There's no restriction. You can change anywhere at any time, and they actually feel really, 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 really good. One of the things that I love about World of Warcraft is when they double down on class fantasy. I love class fantasy in World of Warcraft. Right? I love my Death Knight. I love my Shaman. And I love my Warlock. And I love those classes, the class fantasy that these classes bring. And hero talents just bring that up to another level without clustering your bar and without making something like weak cores be super cumbersome, right? I'm going to need to add maybe one ability to a couple buff or debuff per class. It's not going to be the end of the world. Obviously, with all the class changes, that's going to be a lot of work, but that's a completely different topic for the weak cores. Anyway, so that's pretty much it for hero talents. Now let's talk about dungeons. I did one dungeon, which was the Rookery. And it felt pretty cool. It felt super big. The bosses were nice. And apparently there's another one called the Meadery. And I didn't get to do this one. The queue were a little bit having issues and all that stuff. And I didn't get to record any footage of it. But there's probably going to be plenty of footage from other content creator and all that stuff. But I got footage from the Rookery. It looked amazing, felt good. And I just had a good time in it. It was great. I don't have much more to say about this. This is the one dungeon. There's 2 dungeons available. I was able to test one of them. It felt great. Apparently, the other one feels even better. So I thought that was cool. The fight design were neat. And I'm kind of excited to do them in Mythic Plus, honestly. I think it's going to be cool. One of the last point I want to talk about here is the delves. So I was a little bit curious as how I was going to approach this because what I've seen so far, I'm not massively impressed. I think it's going to fulfill the need or the one of the goal that it was supposed to fix, which is there's some people that just don't want to group up, right? They might have a little bit of social anxiety. They might have a little bit of just grouping up and peer pressure. And some people just don't want to have that pressure. The timer for Mythic Plus is kind of intimidating. Rating is even more intimidating. They just want to be able to gear up a little bit and maybe start doing those dungeons at some point. But first, they need to gear up a little bit and they need to do some content. And I think Delves is going to be able to do that in a beautiful way. It seems to reward some nice gear. You get your Vault reward with it, and it seems really, really cool. Content-wise, inside of them, there doesn't seem to be a lot of randomness right now. It is static map. They're rather small with a little bit of puzzle here and there. But again, I want to clarify something. This is alpha. This is the first zone, and I was only able to do 2 of them, okay? So this could be 2 very early introduction delves that are not meant to be super beefy. I was doing them only at tier 2. Apparently, there's all the way to 11 ranks, I think, 11 tiers for these. So they're going to scale up pretty high, but I don't think the scaling is going to add any content to them. It was pretty straightforward. Bran was following me around. I gave him a spec. I spec'd him up. I could see his ability. I'm going to be able to equip him gear later on, level him up. And he was pretty useful. It was pretty fun. He was helping me with combat. You can do those with friends. It looks cool, but the objective were pretty straightforward. The boss at the end was pretty cool, but I don't see myself repeating and farming delves all day. It might be something that is going to be nice with the leveling experience. And then if I need a couple piece of gear, maybe on an alt, maybe I'm going to do this. But with Mythic Plus rewarding just like better and faster gear in general, and me being a big fan of Dungeon and Mythic Plus, I don't really see myself doing delves, which I was really, really hoping that I would. But again, I don't know. Maybe they're going to add some really, really cool fights later on in some of the later zones. And maybe there's going to be some rare delves or hard difficulty delves with massive boss at the end just for challenge, or even maybe like a mage tower type of deal with a delve where one of the delves could have a really tough boss that rewards you with a cool transmog or a cool mount. That would be insane. That would be really, really, really cool. But if that's not the case, then I don't really see myself doing. And it's okay. It's okay. Delves maybe aren't for me. And I'm not like a crazy raid or anything. I'm just a casual dude doing some Mythic Plus every once in a while. And you know, like I do a little bit of PvP, I do some stuff. I play at a medium, I wouldn't even say high level, right? So, and I don't feel like they're made for me. So they're definitely not gonna be made maybe for, but I don't know. Again, I don't want to speak too early here. I'm just giving you like a first impression, how I felt about them. They didn't look like crazy, but there could be much more that we haven't seen. So I like to remain a little bit optimistic. I'm not the kind of person that I don't like to like dwell. Like I'm gonna give feedback, right? Obviously, but I'm not gonna try to throw delves under the bus or anything. Because it's still way too early. I'm just giving you like first impression. When I did my first delve, it was like, all right, cool. I did my first delve, right? It was a cool like leveling experience, but yeah, I don't know if I would do this in the end game or farm them or keep repeating them or, but they might be really, really nice for people that would like to gear their character without having to engage with group content. So that's pretty much that for delves. That's pretty much that. I hope we get to see a little bit more. I hope there's more coming to it. I definitely have some feedback that I want to share regarding them. I think the layout, they look kind of cool. I like the concept of it. The NPC is cool. There's some cool quotes in there, some cool lines. There's also a little bit of story, why it explains some stuff with like the kobold, and it's actually pretty cool. It was pretty fun, but I hope there's a little bit more coming for these. So I'm going to keep you guys updated if in a later build, there's a little bit more development when it comes to these. So that was pretty much all the points that I wanted to touch here for my first impression on War Within. Again, this is a closed alpha, and it's a really, really early build. We're going to be playing really, really soon here the open alpha, which is going to have a lot more waves, a lot more people, a lot more content, and they're just going to keep pushing build every single week with more and more update over time. And we're just going to be able to test more and more stuff, and we're going to cover as much of it as possible. Obviously, we got a lot of work coming our way with weak ores and all that stuff. If you guys are using those, that's going to come later when add-ons are enabled with the beta. But for now, we're just going to cover the content, see the cool changes, the cool class, the new spells, and the new passive and hero talents and new zones and dungeon. And we're just going to, we're just going to breed World of Warcraft and Warcraft in general for a couple of weeks, months, and maybe even a year or two, right? So, I mean, I'm excited for this more than I thought I was going to be, honestly. I was excited when I saw Medicine show up and all that stuff, but now I'm kind of, this is getting real. This is happening, and it's releasing soon. So that's my take on it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if you want more of these or if you want me to cover more content from the War Within. And yeah, I hope to see you in Azeroth, my friend. Bye-bye.